50 years ago, on December 28, 1973, President Richard Nixon signed the Endangered Species Act into law, recognizing that various species in the United States were facing extinction due to unchecked economic growth and development. This act aimed to protect endangered species.
In 1962, ecologist Rachel Carson authored Silent Spring, revealing the devastating impact of insecticides on ecosystems. This awareness led to the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, in 1970. In 1973, President Nixon pushed for stronger species protection, gaining widespread bipartisan support.
This marked a significant shift towards environmental protection. President Gerald Ford tended to relax environmental regulations to boost oil and gas development. However, President Jimmy Carter, who took office in 1977, championed environmental protection.
Carter designated 56 million acres in Alaska as national monuments in 1978, doubling the national park system's size. He also installed 32 solar panels at the White House in 1979 to reduce fossil fuel dependence. Before leaving office, Carter signed the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act, safeguarding over 100 million acres in Alaska, including the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge.
Carter's efforts faced opposition from industries like oil, mining, and timber, as well as local officials in favor of development. Some activists in Alaska broke regulations, portraying Carter negatively.
Generally, opposition centered around reforming government regulations that critics argued granted excessive power to unelected officials, often conflicting with economic development.
In their 1980 presidential platform, Republicans endorsed natural resource conservation and public health protection. However, they questioned the cost-effectiveness of existing regulations, advocating for more flexible approaches.
Ronald Reagan, in his presidential nomination acceptance speech, emphasized energy production to drive growth. Reagan appointed pro-industry officials who aimed to reduce government regulation of the environment by cutting budgets and staff.
Despite this, Reagan's administration decided not to reinstall the White House solar panels removed in 1986, maintaining a focus on oil and gas development.
Today, we see the consequences of this shift away from environmental protection towards fossil fuel development. In 2023, global temperatures reached record highs, and various environmental disasters occurred.
The World Meteorological Organization reported this in tandem with the UN climate change negotiations, COP28, beginning in the United Arab Emirates. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called for action to address climate change.
After COP28 ended on December 13, Umair Irfan of Vox summarized the outcomes. Countries called for phasing out fossil fuels, but specifics were lacking. Efforts to reduce emissions, invest in technology, adapt to warming, and aid affected countries were deemed insufficient.
COP28 also agreed to cut methane emissions, boost renewable energy, and assist countries affected by climate change, like island nations. However, greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise, and limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius appears challenging.
Today, President Joe Biden used the Endangered Species Act's anniversary to emphasize the importance of protecting ecosystems and biodiversity. He highlighted significant investments in environmental initiatives and land protection during his presidency.
Nevertheless, challenges remain. The Supreme Court's West Virginia versus Environmental Protection Agency decision limits the EPA's authority to regulate emissions causing climate change. House Republicans have criticized the Endangered Species Act, accusing the Biden administration of stifling various industries through excessive regulations.
In 2023, as the impacts of climate change become increasingly evident, states like North Carolina have implemented measures to disclose home flooding histories and flood risks to prospective buyers.